Papa, no! The scream didn't come from the woman bleeding on the pavement. It came from the boy. The gunshot cracked through the Seoul alleyway like thunder splitting a stone. It was a sound that ended worlds and started new ones. Kendra Hayes felt the impact before the pain. It was a sledgehammer to her right side, a kinetic force that lifted her off her feet and sent her sprawling against the wet concrete. The air left her lungs in a wet gasp. She looked up. Rain blurred her vision, mixing with the blood running into her eyes. Through the haze, she saw him, the man she had just saved, the man whose son she had just shielded with her own body. Tai-Jun Park. He was standing over her, a smoking gun in his hand, his chest heaving. His eyes were not human in that moment. They were two voids of absolute coldness. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know she was the only reason his son was still breathing. He just saw a body on the ground amidst a pile of his enemies. He thought she was another assassin sent to finish the job. As his finger tightened on the trigger for the kill shot, Kendra didn't beg. She didn't have the breath to scream. She just closed her eyes and thought, "Finally, Marcus, baby, I'm coming." But this isn't a story about how Kendra Hayes died. This is a story about how the bullet that was meant to end her life actually started it. But before the blood, before the rain, before the bullet, there was the silence. To understand the woman bleeding in that alley, you have to understand the ghost she was before she met the dragon. 6 months prior, Seoul, South Korea. The city was a neon ocean, but Kendra Hayes was drowning in the dark. She lived in a goshewon in the Yongdenpo district, a room barely big enough for a single bed and a desk. The wallpaper was peeling, smelling of stale kimchi and despair. She wasn't Kendra Hayes here. She wasn't the Lioness, the former Tier 1 special ops operator who had dismantled terror cells in Syria and cartels in Mexico. Here, she was Sarah. Just Sarah. She worked as a dishwasher in a barbecue restaurant by day and hauled crates at the Noryangjin fish market by night. Her hands, once insured for millions by the U.S. government, were now cracked, red, and smelling of fish guts. Every night, she would come back to her tiny box of a room, sit on the edge of the bed, and take out a small, charred photograph from her wallet. It was the only thing she had left. A little boy, 7 years old, missing a front tooth, holding a plastic lightsaber. Marcus. "Mommy, look, I'm a Jedi." The memory was a physical pain, sharp and jagged in her chest. Kendra wasn't living in Seoul, she was haunting it. She was waiting for the contractors, the shadow organization she used to kill for, to find her. She had stolen their insurance policy, a hard drive full of dirt on every corrupt official from DC to Brussels. They had retaliated by burning her house down in Atlanta, with Marcus inside. Since that day, Kendra Hayes had died. The woman walking around was just a shell waiting to be crushed. It was a Tuesday in November when fate decided to stop being polite. Kendra was taking the shortcut home through the back alleys of Gangnam. It was raining, a cold, miserable drizzle that soaked into her bones. She was carrying a plastic bag with 2 apples and a carton of milk. Dinner. She heard it. Not the rain, not the distant hum of traffic. She heard the scuffle of leather on asphalt, the muffled grunt of pain, and then the distinct metallic clack of a slide being racked on a suppressed pistol. Kendra stopped. Her training screamed, "Walk away, not your fight. You are a ghost. Ghosts don't play hero." She turned to leave. Then she heard the voice, a child's voice, high-pitched and terrified. "Let me go, my papa will kill you." Kendra froze. The voice, it sounded so much like Marcus. She looked around the corner. 8 men, dressed in dark tactical gear, moving with professional precision, a hit squad. And in the middle, a boy, maybe 11, wearing a pristine private school uniform that was now muddy and torn. They were dragging him toward a black van with tinted windows. Kendra looked at the boy's face, the terror in his eyes. "Walk away," her brain commanded. Not today, her heart answered. Not this time. She dropped the grocery bag. The milk carton burst on the pavement, white mixing with the gray rain. She reached into her boot and pulled the ceramic knife she always carried. She took a deep breath. The tiredness vanished. The grief was shoved into a box. The lioness woke up. Gritty, emotional, immersive. It took 3 minutes to drop 8 men. Kendra moved like smoke. She didn't fight like a brawler. She fought like a surgeon removing a tumor. She threw the knife into the throat of the first guard. He went down gurgling. She grabbed his falling gun, a suppressed Sig Sauer. Pop, pop, 2 shots to the chest of the driver. The other men spun around, confused. Who was this woman in a fish market hoodie? It was too late. Kendra was a whirlwind of violence. She used the rain, the shadows, the enemy's own confusion against them. She broke an arm with a sickening crunch, used the man as a human shield, and fired over his shoulder. Bones snapped, guns clattered, bodies hit the wet ground with heavy thuds. When silence fell, Kendra was the only one standing. She was breathing hard, rain plastering her hair to her face. Adrenaline coursed through her veins, a familiar and addictive drug. She turned to the boy. He was huddled against a dumpster, shaking like a leaf. "Are you hurt?" Kendra asked in English, her voice raspy from disuse. The boy looked up at her, eyes wide with shock. He shook his head. You saved me." Then came the footsteps. Heavy, fast, running. Kendra spun around, raising the stolen gun. A man burst into the alley. He was terrifying. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a bespoke suit that was now soaked with rain. His face was a mask of pure panic that hardened into murderous rage the second he saw the scene. Tai-Jun Park, the head of the Seven Star Syndicate, the Dragon of Seoul. He saw the bodies of the hitmen, men from the rival Jade Dragon gang. He saw the blood pooling in the rainwater. And he saw a stranger standing over his son, gun in hand. He didn't ask questions. He didn't hesitate. He raised his own weapon. Bang. Kendra went down. Pain. That was the world. Just pain. It started as a white-hot point in her side and radiated out until it consumed everything. Kendra floated in and out of consciousness. She heard voices. "She lost a lot of blood. Keep her alive. I want answers. Papa, she's waking up." Kendra opened her eyes. The light was blinding. She was in a room that smelled of antiseptic and expensive lemon polish. Not a hospital. Too quiet. Too nice. She tried to sit up. The pain slammed her back down into the mattress, stealing her breath. "Don't move," a small voice said. She turned her head. The boy, Min-ho, was sitting in a velvet chair next to the bed. He was holding a glass of water with 2 hands, watching her intently. "You've been asleep for 5 days. My papa brought his private doctor. You almost died." Kendra took the water. Her hands shook so bad the water sloshed over the rim. Min-ho reached out and steadied the glass for her. His hands were small and warm. "Where am I?" Kendra croaked. "Safe house. My papa, he wants to talk to you, but I told him you were sleeping. I told him he couldn't wake you." "Why did you save me?" Kendra asked, remembering the scream in the alley. "He was going to kill me." Min-ho looked down at his knees. "Because you looked like my mom before she died, and because you saved me first." The heavy oak door opened. Tai-Jun Park walked in. He looked different without the rain and the panic. He looked regal, dangerous. He wore a gray suit without a tie, the top button undone. He looked exhausted. "Min-ho, leave us," he said gently. The boy hesitated. He looked at Kendra, then at his father. "Be nice, Papa." Tai-Jun's jaw tightened. "Go." When the door clicked shut, the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Tai-Jun sat in the chair Min-ho had vacated. He stared at Kendra for a long time, dissecting her. "Who are you?" he asked finally. "Sarah," she rasped. "Sarah?" he repeated, tasting the lie. "Sarah doesn't have military-grade scars on her back. Sarah doesn't have callus patterns on her hands from holding a sniper rifle.
Sarah doesn't kill 8 Jade Dragon enforcers with a ceramic knife and a stolen pistol in under 3 minutes. He leaned forward, his eyes dark and intense. Who are you? Kendra looked at the ceiling. I'm the person who saved your son. Isn't that enough? You saved him, Tai-Jun admitted, and I shot you. That is a debt I do not like owing. But you are dangerous. You are a weapon, and until I know who holds the trigger, you don't leave this room. So I'm a prisoner. You are a guest who cannot leave. Call it what you want. But the Jade Dragons know someone killed their hit squad. They are looking for you. If you leave, you die. If you stay, maybe you live.
2 weeks passed. Kendra healed fast, too fast for a normal civilian. Her body was a map of old wars, and it knew how to knit itself back together. She started doing push-ups in her room, gritting her teeth against the pain in her side, sweat dripping onto the Persian rug. Tai-Jun watched her on the security cameras from his office. He was fascinated. He had never seen a woman like this. She didn't cry, she didn't complain, she just prepared. One rainy night, he came to her room. He didn't bring a weapon. He brought a bottle of expensive Japanese whiskey and 2 crystal glasses. He poured without asking. The contractors, he said. Kendra froze mid-stretch. The air left the room. What did you say? My intelligence network, Tai-Jun said calmly, swirling his drink. I had them run your prints. Interpol has a red notice. Kendra Hayes, former CIA Special Activities Division, went rogue, wanted for espionage, treason, and domestic terrorism. He took a sip, watching her over the rim of the glass. They say you burned down your own house in Atlanta with your son inside. Kendra moved so fast, Tai-Jun barely saw it. 1 second she was across the room, the next she had him pinned against the wall, her forearm crushing his windpipe, the whiskey glass shattering on the floor. Don't you ever, she hissed, tears springing to her eyes for the first time, talk about my son. Tai-Jun didn't fight back. He didn't call his guards. He looked into her eyes, inches from his own, and saw the raw, bleeding wound in her soul. They lied, he whispered, his voice strained against her arm. Didn't they? They killed him. Kendra let him go. She stepped back, shaking. She collapsed onto the floor, pulling her knees to her chest, and sobbed. It was a guttural, ugly sound, the sound of a mother who had held it in for too long. It was the first time she had cried in 8 months. Tai-Jun sat on the floor next to her. He didn't touch her. He knew better. He just poured more whiskey into the remaining glass and set it between them. I lost my wife, he said softly into the silence. 4 years ago. Car bomb. Meant for me. Min-Ho was in the back seat. He survived. She didn't. He took a sip from the bottle. We are the same, Kendra. We are the ones left behind, the ones who have to keep living when we should have died. That night, amidst the shards of glass and the smell of whiskey, they made a deal, a pact between ghosts. Train my men, Tai-Jun said. The Jade Dragons are getting bolder. They have hired mercenaries. My men are brawlers, not soldiers. Teach them how to fight like you, how to think like you. In exchange, I give you full protection, a new identity, a life anywhere in the world. I don't want a life, she whispered. I have nothing left. Then do it for Min-Ho, Tai-Jun said, because if I die, he has no one, and you know what it's like to lose a son. Don't let me lose mine. The training began in the basement dojo of the estate. Kendra was ruthless. She took Tai-Jun's rough-and-tumble gangsters, men who relied on intimidation and numbers, and broke them down to build them back up. She taught them tactical movement, breach and clear, knife defense. One young fighter, Jin, became her shadow. He was eager, clumsy, and reminded her painfully of a younger brother she never had. Again, she would scream, slamming Jin onto the mat. You hesitate, you die. Your enemy won't hesitate. They don't care if you're tired. Up. Tai-Jun watched from the balcony above. He saw the way his men looked at her. Initially, it was with sexism and doubt, then fear, and finally, awe. They called her Saja,
the Lioness. He found himself looking at her too, not just as a weapon. He saw the way she ate with Min-ho in the kitchen, laughing when the boy tried to teach her how to use chopsticks properly. He saw the way she looked at the rain with a melancholy that broke his heart. He was falling, and for a man who believed his heart was dead, it was terrifying. The first test came a month later, a safe house breach. Contractors. They had tracked Kendra's digital footprint when Tai-Jun's hackers tried to scrub it. Gunfire erupted at 3 a.m., suppressed shots killing the perimeter guards. Kendra didn't run, she didn't hide, she grabbed a tactical vest and an assault rifle from the armory. She moved through the hallway, clearing rooms with fluid grace. She found Min-ho hiding in a linen closet, shaking. "Stay down," she ordered, her voice calm. "I'm here." She stood at the door, guarding him while bullets chewed up the drywall around her. Tai-Jun arrived with his men, flanking the infiltrators. For the first time, they fought together, Tai-Jun and Kendra, the dragon and the lioness. It was a violent ballet. They moved in perfect sync, covering each other's blind spots, communicating with glances and hand signals. They took down the hit squad with brutal efficiency. When the smoke cleared, Tai-Jun found Kendra checking Min-ho for injuries. She had a cut on her cheek, but she was smiling at the boy. He walked over to her. He was covered in blood, adrenaline high. He grabbed her face. He didn't mean to. His body just moved. He kissed her. It wasn't romantic. It was rough and desperate and tasted like gunpowder and survival. He pulled back, breathing hard. "I thought I lost you," she smirked, though her hands were shaking.
But the war wasn't over. It had just begun. The contractors were embarrassed. Their hit squad failed. Now they sent an army. "We can't stay in the city," Tai-Jun said, looking at the intel reports. "They'll burn Seoul to get to you. Collateral damage means nothing to them." "Where do we go?" Kendra asked. "The ancestral estate, Mount Seorek. It is a fortress." They retreated to the mountains. Snow was falling. It was quiet for 2 days. Then the sky filled with the sound of rotors. The final battle was a siege. Kendra, Tai-Jun, and 30 of his loyal men against a mercenary army equipped with thermal optics and heavy weaponry. The estate turned into a war zone. Jin died holding the gate, taking 3 mercenaries with him. Kendra found his body and closed his eyes, a silent tear freezing on her cheek. Kendra took a bullet to the shoulder, the same shoulder Tai-Jun had shot months ago. The pain was blinding, but she dragged herself to the sniper tower. She looked through the scope. The enemy commander was coordinating the assault from a ridge. "I need to take out the commander," she radioed to Tai-Jun. "He's dug in. I can't get a clean shot." "I'll flush him out," Tai-Jun's voice crackled in her ear. "No, he has a heavy machine gun. It's suicide." "Trust me, Kendra." Tai-Jun ran into the open courtyard, firing his dual pistols, drawing the fire of every gun on the ridge. The enemy commander stood up to take the kill shot on the foolish mafia boss. Kendra exhaled. For Marcus, for Jin, for us. Bang. The commander's head snapped back. He fell. The mercenaries, leaderless and taking heavy losses, broke and ran. Tai-Jun ran up the sniper tower stairs, his suit torn, bleeding from a dozen cuts. He found Kendra slumped against the wall, clutching her shoulder, pale as the snow outside. "You idiot!" he cried, falling to his knees and pressing his hands to her wound. "You promised you wouldn't die." "I lied," she wheezed, blood bubbling on her lips. "Don't you dare," he sobbed. "Min-ho needs you. I need you. Don't leave me alone again." Kendra looked at him. She saw the fear in his eyes. She saw the love he was too afraid to speak. She saw a future she thought she had buried in the ashes of Atlanta. "Okay," she whispered, her hand finding his. "I'll stay." Recovery was slow. The winter turned to spring. But this time, Kendra wasn't a prisoner. She was the queen. With the help of Tai-Jun's hackers and Kendra's knowledge, they released the encrypted files to the world press.
The contractors were exposed. Investigations were launched. The organization crumbled from the inside out. Kendra Hayes was no longer a fugitive. She was a ghost story that turned out to be a hero. 6 months later, Seoul was warm. Kendra stood on the balcony of the penthouse, looking out at the Han River. She wasn't wearing combat boots or hiding in a hoodie. She was wearing a silk robe, her hair free. Min-ho ran onto the deck, holding a spatula. "Mom, Dad says the pancakes are burning." Mom. He had started calling her that a week ago. It still made her heart stutter every single time. "I'm coming, baby," she called back. Tai-Jun walked out. He looked ridiculous holding a plate of burnt pancakes, wearing an apron over his dress shirt. "They are caramelized," he defended, seeing her look, "not burnt. It is a culinary technique." He set the plate down and walked over to her. He wrapped his arms around her waist, resting his chin on her shoulder. "What are you looking at?" he asked. "The city," she said. "It looks different now." "How?" "It doesn't look like a cage anymore." Tai-Jun turned her around. He kissed her forehead, then her lips. "Happy?" he asked. Kendra looked at Min-ho laughing in the kitchen. She looked at the man who had shot her, saved her, and loved her back to life. "I'm alive," she said. "Better," Tai-Jun smiled, pulling her close. "You are home."